I get this question all the time. Can I become a millionaire when I only have a small amount to invest each month? Is it even worth me investing? Is it even possible for someone like me to become wealthy? Well, in this video, I'm going to unpack exactly that, diving into whether or not someone earning in and around the UK average salary could even dream of becoming a part of that 2 club. So instead of waiting around, let's find out, shall we? If you're new here, my name is Sammy. I'm an award-winning content creator helping Britain and the world get financially fit. Now, first I want to unpack a couple of rules here because it's important to understand what we mean by millionaire. Yeah, obviously 7 figures, I get that bit, but what do we mean here? Liquid assets or net worth? And Sammy, what the hell's the difference? Liquid assets are things that you own that you can quickly turn into cash. Liquid assets include things like money in your wallet, your savings accounts, or even any stocks or bonds that you might own. These are easy to use if you need to buy something or pay a bill because you don't have to wait long to get the money. Yes, you need to sell stocks or bonds, but that usually can happen on the same day in most cases if the market is open, and you can have the money in under 48 hours. Net worth shows you how much you're worth in total. To find your net worth, you simply add up everything you own, like your house, your car, your investments, and your money in the bank, and then you subtract everything that you owe. And that could be loans, credit card bills, mortgages, etc. Net worth will tell you how rich that you are, but it includes things that take time to sell, like a house or a car. The big difference between liquid assets and net worth is how easy it is to get to the money. Liquid assets are like having cash in your pocket that you can use right away, and net worth is like adding up all of your treasures, but some of them, like a house, take quite a lot of time to turn into cash. So for this, we're going to build around liquid assets, as for me, that's the kind of money that we're going to want. Now, technically, if the house you owned was paid off, you would still be a millionaire. But as we know, houses need living in and cars need driving, so we're going to discount them for the purpose of this exercise. Now, there's a lot of debate around the UK average salary versus the median salary, so let's just get clear about that too, so we're all on the same page here. The average salary is found by adding up all of the salaries and then dividing by the number of people. Imagine you had you and 4 friends and you each get some pocket money. If you all add your pocket money together and then you divide it by 5, you get the average pocket money. It's like finding out how much each person would get if everyone got the same amount. Now, median salary, this is a little bit different. It's the middle number in the list of all of the salaries. First, you put all of the salaries in order from smallest to largest. If you have 5 friends and you line up your pocket money from smallest to the largest amount, the friend in the middle has the median pocket money. This shows what most people are close to earning without looking at big amounts, making it look higher or lower. The average salary can be changed by very high or low salaries. Like if one friend gets a lot more money than everybody else, the median salary isn't affected by these very high or low amounts because it's the number in the middle. So the median salary for me gives a better idea of what most people earn, and that's what we're going to use today. So the current median salary in the UK is £34,963. Now the key thing here is that London has higher salaries compared to most parts of the UK. Because London is a pretty big city with lots of people earning a lot more money, these higher salaries are included in calculating the overall median salary. If London salaries were not included, the UK median will be a lot lower. So London's higher salaries help raise the overall UK median salary a bit, making it higher than it would be if London were not part of this calculation. So with that in mind, what we're going to do today is a London only one and a UK median salary with London removed. Okay, so London is £44,370 and the UK with London removed is £33,000. That's a pretty big difference, but in my opinion, this is the fairest way of doing this. Now, next we need to know how much these salaries would actually get us into our pockets, so the net wage per month. It's important to say that this will vary for each person based on your tax code, your employer contributions, your pensions, etc., which technically does count as an investment too, but because it's not a liquid asset for most people watching this, I'm not going to include that. So £44,000 is £2,850 a month, and £33,000 is £2,205 a month. Okay, now we need to decide how much we're going to invest, and what I'm going to do is show you a few examples of different percentages so you can see how long it's going to take you. I'm going to have 10% of net wage invested, 15%, 20%, and 25%. But what are we investing in, I can hear you asking? Well, good question. For this, I'm just going to keep it really simple and something that we can use historical data on to show you an example of. And it's important to say that past performance is not a future indicator of success, but it is what we have to go on here, and the results we have are pretty old. This right here is the S&P 500 index. To explain it briefly, an index is simply a list of stocks and the fund is the vehicle to invest into the list. This This particular fund will track the top performing 500 businesses in the US at a particular time. It has Apple and Microsoft and Tesla in it, right down to smaller ones, all in different sectors, but it's the 500 biggest company. The reason I chose this fund is because it's like investing into some of the world's largest companies and means your money is nicely diversified across many different businesses. Historically, it's returned 11.35% on average a year, which isn't bad at all. It's certainly better than your savings accounts will give you, but of course, yes, there's some risk involved. We also have the big bad wolf inflation to think about here too. Inflation essentially devalues the money we own today, with prices increasing for goods and services. This of course affects our actual returns, as yes, 11.35% is what we get, but the value of it is actually more important than the actual amount in my opinion. So inflation adjusted returns are closer to 7.26%. So for argument's sake, I'm basing our average yearly returns at 7%. I'll also show you 6%, 8%, 9%, 10% plus the 11.35%, so you can see what it would be like without inflation figures taking off. So to recap, we're going to do London and non-London median, invested into the S&P 500 with different contribution amounts and slightly adjusted returns by amounts too. And to keep it fair, we're going to invest for 30 years flat. First, I'm going to show you the £44,000 median salary with London included, and next we'll do London excluded. Here's what it shows. So here we have the monthly contributions going up by 5% each time based on the net wage of £2,850 a month from the 44k we earned a year. Down the left hand side, we have the percentages increasing from 6% up to 11.35%, and across the top we have that 10 to 25% of your net contribution invested with the amount shown there too. As you can see, we do have some million amounts down the bottom. We don't quite reach it with the 10% invested, and even with the 15%, we'd need to get just above 10% on average returns to get a million, which as we know with the 7.26% average, if we're factoring inflation in here, is pretty difficult to get to that £1 million in the 30 years without an above average return and investing at least 25% of our total salary, which is pretty difficult for most people, but of course some do it. That being said, if you invested 10% of your salary for 30 years, then 350k is a pretty nice chunk of change in my opinion. No, it doesn't get you to the million, but that's a pretty nice, decent retirement pot for you to enjoy. And remember, your pension contributions will end up adding to this as well. Most of them are invested in something like an index fund, usually a global index fund or an equivalent. Now you can pause this if you want to keep on looking at it, but what happens if we just increase this slightly by 5 years, so 35 years invested rather than 30? What happens then? Let's just bring this up and see the difference. Now, as you can see, the 5 years makes an enormous difference to all the levels of investment. When you compare the 10% or the £285 investments at 7% from the 30 years to the 35 years, you potentially make an extra £165,000 in just those 5 years. The longer you invest for, the longer compound interest has to work. So looking at this broken down here, if you increase your contribution above the 10% and invested for 35 years, you'd make millionaire status at the 20 and 25% contribution rates with inflation adjusted returns of 7%. And as we know, it's slightly higher than that, so that's not bad at all. Now let's take a look at the 33k salary over the 30 years to compare this. So here, the salary is reduced to the 33k. You can see it makes a pretty significant difference. And yes, technically you could still become a millionaire when investing 15% of your salary, but the value of it will be less with inflation. We want to do this right. So at around 25% of your salary, will get you pretty close to being a millionaire in liquid assets at 33 grand a year in actual inflation adjusted returns. Now, when looking at all of these figures, I think it's really important to put all of this into perspective. The average UK retirement pot currently sits at 52 grand. So even if you invested just 10% of either salary that we've compared here, you'd far surpass the average retirement pot. And why is that significant? Well, when you put the £52,000 and you add in state pension, that leaves you with currently just over a grand a month to live off in retirement. Now, you go and ask a 65-year-old whether or not they'd enjoy that right this second right now. I guarantee you they'll tell you should have put away more money. With the average life expectancy at 80 years old, this would mean 15 years struggling. And that would absolutely suck in my opinion. Now, that's why it's important for me to think about investing for as long as you can. You don't have to save it all for retirement. You could look at accessing portions of it along the way to improve the here and now, but it just goes to show that the average person in the UK can create a significant pot of money by investing small amounts each month like clockwork for a long period of time. One from this video is to learn all about index funds, and that should be popping up on your screen right now. It's been really good fun breaking all of this down, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We put out videos every single week on making, saving and investing your money, and we'll see you on the next video about index funds. Thanks for tuning in.